Welcome to Chapter 12 of the Wealth Management Essentials course. In this chapter, we're going to be looking at government pension plans. So that includes the Canada and Quebec pension plans, CPP or QPP, and old age security. So for CPP and QPP, first off, CPP was created in 1965 as a national social insurance program to provide retirement, disability, and survivor and death benefits. In that same year, Quebec established their own pension plan, which is the Quebec Pension Plan, QPP, which was used only for Quebec residents. They are quite similar. Participation is required for Canadians between age 18 and 65 who have earned income in excess of the year's basic amount, which was $3,500 in 2022. CPP contributions must be paid on income earned above the year's basic amount up to the WME, which was $64,900 in 2022. So the contribution rates were as follows in 2022. You can see for all provinces except Quebec, they had to remit 11.4% of their income between the year's basic amount and the WME. Now, if you do have an employer, so you're just an employee, then the employer actually does contribute half of that, so 5.7. If you are self-employed, you would contribute both portions, so it would be the 11.4. And then it's similar with QPP, except the contribution rates are slightly higher. Now, there have recently been some funding increases. So the federal government recently introduced changes to increase the contributions made. The goal was to have CPP cover 33.3, so 1/3 of retirement expenses, as opposed to the previous 25% target. So from 2019 to 2023, the contribution rate for CPP has been increasing from 4.95 to 5.95. In 2024, employees and employers will be contributing 4% each on an additional range of income called the year's additional maximum pensionable earnings, so YAMPE. And this range will start at the YMPE and go up to this limit, which is estimated to be about 14% higher. Now, the CPP contributory period. So this begins the year the individual turns 18 years old, and it ends the month before the pension begins. So the month of the contributor's 70th birthday, or the month the contributor dies, or whichever comes first. So some people can take CPP at age 60. In that case, it would stop at 59 and 11 months. Some people take it at 65 or whatnot, and there would stop 64 and 11 months. So 70% of the lowest earning years in the contributory period before age 65 can be dropped. And when earnings are lower while raising children under the age of 7, that may be excluded. So that's called the child rearing dropout. Low earning months after the age of 65 may also be excluded. And so the pension benefits for 60 versus 65. So as I mentioned, you can begin CPP as early as 60 and it can be delayed as of age 70. The base year, though, is age 65. That's just generally when CPP is supposed to be collected. Those who choose to begin collecting before they turn 65 will receive a permanently reduced pension. So this is calculated to 0.6% reduction for every month they take it before age 65. With QPP, it decreases by 0.5% per month for someone with a low pension and increases to 0.6% for larger QPPs. So there is a slight difference there with the Quebec pension plan. Those who choose to begin collecting past age 65, they can delay as late as age 70. They will receive a permanently increased pension. The amount is adjusted by 0.7% for every additional month they wait. So if they wait a full year and take it at age 66, then they would get 8.4% more per month going forward. And basically, they chose to forego those payments between 65 and 66 and instead take the higher amount at 66. So eligible Canadians, they also do need to apply to start CPP. It can be canceled and delayed up to 6 months after starting, but all the money must be repaid back. And CPP contributions, they are optional after age 65. Now there's the whole topic around division of CPP. So under the CPP program, credits earned while married are to be split between two spouses after divorce or separation. Division of contributions is mandatory but not automatic. So an application must be submitted to have that division occur. Spouses in an ongoing relationship can apply to share their CPP as long as they are at least 60 and both are receiving their pensions. If only one spouse has been a contributor, the couple can share that one pension, and this can just help split the CPP. So if one person was going to get 200, one person was going to get 800, they can share that, so they would each get 500 per month, and that just helps save some household taxes sometimes. There's also CPP disability. So there are some eligibility requirements. They must be considered disabled according to CPP legislation. They must have earned a specified minimum amount and contributed to the CPP in 4 of the last 6 years. And they must be under the age of 65. Disabled QPP contributors are eligible for a CPP disability pension if they have contributed during one of the following periods. So half the number of years of their contributory period, but not less than 2 years. 5 of the last 10 years, 2 of the last 3 of their contributory periods, or 2 years if the contributory period is only 2 years. And some more information about CPP disability. So if you do qualify, the benefit is equal to 75% of the retirement pension as if they were 65 the month they became disabled. And disability pension starts 4 months after the month they became disabled. It is waived if they've been disabled within the last 5 years, and it is payable until the individual is no longer disabled or age 65. It then becomes regular CPP at 65, or if they begin taking regular CPP between age 60 and 65. There is also a death and survivor benefit to CPP. So the death benefit from CPP is 6 months worth of age 65 CPP pension up to a maximum of $2,500. So it does depend on what that person's pension would be. But usually it is able to reach that maximum. The survivor benefits are as follows. There is a child benefit that is payable to dependent children under the age of 18. And if between age 18 and 25, they can be eligible if they are currently enrolled in post-secondary school. So you can see if the surviving spouse or common law partner is 65 or older, then what happens is some of their deceased spouses' CPP contributions actually go over to them. So again, let's go back to the example where one person has $800 of CPP, one person has $200. Well, if the spouse with $800 per month passes away, the spouse with the $200 per month would get more, maybe the $500 or $600. It is a pretty complicated calculation, but it's not like they would get $1,000 per month. It would be something in between, and they can only get as much as their maximum. So there's no way you can get above that max CPP level, under any circumstance. Now, there are some different factors for deciding when to take CPP. You can sort of do a break-even calculation when determining whether someone takes CPP at age 60 versus 65 or 70. And just using that calculation, you make certain assumptions, and you could say if they live past, let's say, age 81 or 82, it would have been better to wait to take CPP. So that calculation can be done. But some other factors include cash flow needs. So does the client need their retirement benefit before age 65? If so, then maybe they choose to start taking it. Another one is health. So if someone does have a health issue and their life expectancy isn't as long, then it would typically be a good advice to take it early. Just because you might not be expected to live into your 80s, and you would never reach that break-even age if you don't. Existence of other income sources. So if the client needs annual income, could it be drawn from another source while CPP continues to grow? If not, maybe you should take it. Also, nature of other income sources. So the CPP, it is sort of like an annuity, and it's indexed to inflation, so they get it for as long as they live. So it might be a reason to delay it. You have a bit more of a hedge against longevity risk and inflation. There's also the attitude towards the CPP program. Some people feel that they've been paying into the government for CPP, so they want to get the money out as early as possible. If the government's offering them money, then they want to just take it. And then there is also that point of view where you have that fear of missing out. So rather than waiting, you want to take it now just in case you do pass away in your 70s. And then there's the tax position. So for clients who are still working, it's usually better to wait, just because if they are taking CPP, it's on top of their employment income, and then they're just taxed at a higher rate. You could debate whether or not they take it early and put it in an RSP to counteract that, but sometimes it is just a good idea to wait. The other pension program in Canada is old age security, and so it came into force in 1952. It has been amended many times since its inception, but OAS, it grants all Canadians age 65 a monthly pension. So the eligibility is age 65, so you can take it when you're 65. Actually, you would just get it automatically. You don't actually need to apply for that, but you can delay it until age 70, and so you can apply to delay it if it fits your situation. You must also be a Canadian citizen or a legal resident at the time their OAS pension application is approved. If no longer living in Canada, they must have been a Canadian citizen or legal resident on the day before they left Canada. And to receive a pension in Canada, applicants must have lived in Canada for at least 10 years after reaching age 18. To receive a pension outside of Canada, applicants must have lived in Canada for at least 20 years after age 18. And to receive the full OAS pension, which is approximately $700 a month right now, it does go up every 6 months. But a person must have lived in Canada for 40 years between age 18 and 65. If they lived here for 20 years, for example, during that period, they would receive half of the old age security pension. And Canadians working abroad, they may have their time counted if they have returned to Canada within 6 months of ending employment, or have turned 65 years old while still employed. Another scenario is if they provide both proof of employment from the employer and proof of physically returning to Canada, if only for 1 day. So OAS, it can begin as early as age 65, but it can also be delayed until age 70. The pension does increase by 0.6 per month for each month it is delayed. There's also what's called OAS clawback, or old age security clawback. And so this is a threshold where if someone makes more than what the limit in 2022 was $81,761. So if someone was over that threshold, so say they made, let's just say $100 over that threshold and they were receiving OAS, well, they would actually lose 15% of that. So $15 per month from their old age security. So you can sort of see that it's basically like an extra 15% tax. And so in retirement, if there is the option to avoid old age security clawback, it's definitely recommended because it does push you into a much higher tax bracket if you consider that clawback amount an additional tax. There's also what's called the guaranteed income supplement. So this is something that some people that are collecting old age security could receive if their income is low enough. So it does provide a non-taxable pension to OAS pension recipients who have the low enough income. The supplement threshold depends on if you are married and if your spouse is currently receiving OAS or not. But for purpose of the GIS calculation, income includes other pensions, so CPP, could include interest, dividends, capital gains, rents, foreign pension income, RSP RIF withdrawals, just any income sources such as workers' comp or spousal support. But old age security is exempt or excluded from that calculation. Employment and self-employment earnings are exempted up to a $5,000 limit, which is effective July 2020. Also, in the 2019 budget, they added a new partial exemption of 50% that will apply on up to $10,000 of an additional employment income and self-employment income beyond that initial $5,000 amount. So this applies to both the recipient as well as their spouse or common law partner. So just to go through some example, so say the threshold was $25,000. It is somewhere around there depending on your situation. So if someone is, let's just say they're 66 years old, so they are receiving OAS, say they have Canada pension, that might be $10,000 a month. And then they have just some RIF withdrawals, which is another $10,000 a month, so they're up to $20,000. And then, of course, they receive old age security. Let's just say that's $8,000 per year. So you would think that their taxable income is about $28,000. But in terms of the GIS calculation, they don't include OAS, and so their income for that calculation looks as $20,000. And then they can also earn some employment income up to $5,000 a year that isn't used in that calculation. So that's sort of how it works. Also, the GIS benefit, it is reduced by approximately $1 for every $2 of other income. It's basically a 50% tax, sort of. And the actual calculation that the government makes, it is a bit more complex than that, but that's generally how it works. There's also the allowance and the allowance for the survivor. So eligibility is that they have a spouse or common law partner who receives an old age security pension and is eligible for the supplement. And they would have to be between 60 and 64. So they're not getting OAS, but they are at least 60 and before age 65. And that they are a Canadian citizen or a legal resident at the time the allowance is approved or when they last lived here. They have an annual combined income less than the maximum allowable annual threshold, and that they lived in Canada since age 18 for at least 10 years. So allowance for the survivor for low-income seniors who have a deceased spouse or common law partner and whose sole annual income is less than the maximum annual threshold. So that's something else that some people can receive. It is a little bit more difficult to get or difficult to qualify, but some people are able to receive it. And so those are all the important concepts in Chapter 12. I really hope you found this chapter helpful. And again, I will see you in Chapter 13.